Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pump House's series of artist talks. My name is Olivia, and I'm the gallery coordinator here at the Pump House. And today I am joined by Elizabeth West, whose current exhibition, Value Me, is on display in our Kader Gallery now through September 7th, 2024. Thank you for joining me, Beth, and let's begin with you giving us a little bit of a background of your experience in the arts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I actually graduated from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse in 2017. And after that, I went on to do teaching ceramics residency in North Carolina. And yeah, a lot of my background is actually in ceramics and mostly sculpting. But when I was there, I really got into sort of thinking more about the 2D or like the one-sided representation of my pieces. So I decided to move more into photography, and I was making ceramic sculpture, but I was also photographing them and adding other elements, and it slowly evolved into thinking about all functional and non-functional items. And since then, I have kind of stayed in the teaching realm. I'm planning on opening an art school of my own, have been working a lot with other artists, hosting them in a gallery space I run. So, yeah, since graduating, it's been a whole host of constant collaboration almost, which has really influenced my work as well.
Wonderful. And could you give us a little bit of a background behind this specific exhibition?
Yeah, sure. So this specific exhibition, I was continuing on that line of thinking of the functional item, but also how does it exist outside of how it can serve us or how it can serve a person. And a lot of that comes with social and historical context. So like the image we're looking at right now with just the cover page, yeah, it's glasses and we've added balloons. But the title, which we'll get into later, is just as much a part of the work as the image. So once you start diving into the work and thinking about the language alongside the image, it sort of gives it a second life as well. So that's really what Value Me is about, because it's simultaneously a request and a demand, the title. So that's what I was exploring, sort of the second life of objects.
Wonderful. Great. Well, let's get into a few of the pieces in your show. So this is the first piece. Would you like to talk a little bit about the title, the story behind this? And also, I'd like you to touch on how, just specifically with this piece, how your sculptural background really informs your photography work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first, this is probably one of the first ideas I had. Sometimes when I have an idea, it takes me a long time to actually photograph it because I go through a lot of sketching and trial and error. And I also am not, while I do think that the underlying content of the work can be quite serious, because it is asking people to think about what our role is in valuing or not valuing items and how that also plays into like just how do you find value in your life and how do you value all the structures of your life. I do also think it's quite humorous, and it's okay for it to be humorous because that also points to the absurdity of um, a lot of materials, a lot of, yeah, systems in our world. So that's kind of where we started with this one. It was just an obvious humorous pairing of nipple tassels with a handheld blender. Yeah, I do love that it always gets a reaction from people. People find this one, yeah, they really love it. It's very funny. But then it continues on to that second meaning, like we were just saying in the introduction, that oh no, it is also an objectification of an object and it's a sexualization. And it's kind of campy as well, which I do love that about it. And then the whip until stiff peaks form, that's obviously taken from a recipe line, like when you whip eggs, usually they say, until stiff peaks form. So again, it's this really humorous play um, on what can also be a very serious issue because it's funny that we find it sexual, but it's also a huge issue. Like, why is it something that happens again and again, and how are we continuing to support those structures that should be dismantled?
Great. Thank you so much. All right. This next piece, fish stick.
Yeah, this is another one of my yeah, first ideas, I guess, first lines of thinking, just because when I was, yeah, first starting out, oh sorry, I feel like I didn't answer part of your question before too, but how does my sculptural background play into this? And I think that can apply to both of these because um I did also want to make these, although it is a photograph, I do want them to make them to exist in real life. So like I didn't just collage that first photo together, and like this one I didn't just collage it together, although it would be easy to do. I do want them to exist in real life, and I do have potential plans for more video performance in the future with them. So that is part of where the sculptural quality comes in. Um, Although I am thinking about them as a 2D image, I do have to let them have a life in the 3D world, because I do think that it's important for the work to the longevity of the work to have that other relationship with it, which could be a video performance. I do have some of that, but not that is sort of in the future with these two images right now. And so fish stick, it is still a humorous pairing, but it's a little bit different than that first image we were just looking at, because the idea to put the lipstick on came from that lipstick. A major ingredient in lipstick is actually fish scales because of its iridescent quality. So this idea was coming from thinking about pairing two items or materials that they were originally one whole and kind of putting them back together. Or I guess the fish is the whole in this situation. And I'm taking an item that was extracted from it in a different lifetime, yeah, just marrying it back together. Um, and it's just kind of, yeah, another odd thing to consider. Like, it's funny, but then it's also kind of almost grotesque to consider. It's like we don't really know where a lot of our products come from today unless you're willing to invest the time to research it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I did not know that about the fish scales. The context just brings a whole other meaning to the work. So thank you for sharing that. And then this is your next piece, Marie Antoinette's left breast. We did see this on the cover photo as well.
Yeah, so this is where more of that social history sort of comes in. I had read a really interesting urban legend that the champagne coupe is actually modeled after Marie Antoinette's left breast. So that would the true champagne coupe would be that far right one with the pink balloon in it. And I just thought that was such an odd story and tried to do a little bit more research on it. I think it's generally considered, yes, just to be an urban legend. But yeah, that just really stuck with me. Like, again, it's like this sexualization of an inanimate object. Why does this continue to keep happening? So I really wanted to do, uh, this one really challenged me technically as well. But yeah, I really wanted to do something that showed sort of the volume and the different shapes of the glass. And then obviously balloons can be very breast-like. So yeah, I did this piece sort of shoving these water-filled balloons into the glasses, and it was incredibly difficult for me to photograph. I hadn't really done much with glass before, but I was really happy with the final product. And yeah, this one sculpturally is also a little bit different. Yeah, not sure about how it would exist outside of a photograph, because this is such a particular lighting, it's such a particular um, way of viewing these glasses. So yeah, this is maybe really truly merging more into like a digital painting, digital collage, as it's so heavily manipulated to get the exact desired effect.
Would you say you mostly shoot in a studio setting where you can get controlled lighting and things?
Yes, I always do. A lot of, yeah, a lot of times I am taking multiple images of the same item, because I do then stitch them together to make them so large. Like I think this one was maybe 40 inches long or something. So yeah, I'm taking very, very small images, which is kind of, I don't know, maybe ironic is the right word because I'm talking about taking something out of context and then putting it back into context. And yeah, so I'm doing that over and over again with my works.
Great. It's so interesting to hear all of the stories and history and research that you do behind these images that create just such an interesting story and also touching on the value and things in everyday objects. So really great to hear this. Thank you so much. And
Awesome. Thank
then an additional piece, it's easier to sound like a cock than a cuckoo. Could you discuss a little bit about this work as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this one is actually about, yeah, the sort of losing technology over time. So cuckoo clock has been, yeah, been around since like I think late 1600s. I think we've seen the first references to them. And so they originally ran on like gravity, like pendulums, and now we obviously have electric ones. And same as kind the same happened to feather dusters, uh, because they're now believed to be unhygienic. But in reality, bird feathers trap dust more effectively than anything else. So yeah, again, I just kind of married these two items that I think we've lost the context of or the history of. Although we can go and read about it and we can Google anything we want, it's just interesting how we've continued to incorporate them in our lives in a way they maybe weren't originally intended to.
Great. And then most of the objects that you photograph, are you finding these objects or where are you sourcing? Once you come up with the idea, how long does it take you to find the exact objects and things that you want to execute that idea with?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a really good question because it's so much give and take. A lot of the time I will stroll through antique stores and thrift shops and estate sales looking for really unique items. Yeah, because a lot of them, like you, if you do want to order them, they're quite expensive because they might not exist anymore. I don't know if we really have any of those examples here, but maybe like one photograph I've always wanted to do is like a porcelain hairbrush set, but they're actually kind of hard to find now. So yeah, it's I do try and find them, and it might take me a long time. And then sometimes, like this case, I found the feather duster, and I just thought like that would look so good as a photograph. So it kind of happens like that too sometimes where I see the feather duster, I keep it in my studio for a long time, do some research on it, and then eventually it becomes apparent on what the other objects should be. So like for this case, I did like just order this cuckoo clock because I thought it was so perfect to go with the feather duster that I had stumbled upon. So that's a good example of where I kind of compromise and I didn't just wait for a cuckoo clock to appear. Um, but yeah, like the artworks that I have planned with like a porcelain hairbrush is more of an antique item, and I do have to sort of hunt for those. So it's a lot of um, kind of being patient sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, great. Thank you so much for all of the backstory on some of the pieces in your show. I highly recommend everyone come see this exhibition in person. You didn't get to see, but a lot of these are framed in very fun and different frames, which also add a sculptural aspect to the pieces as well. Everyone is invited to come to our free open house artist reception Friday, August 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m. Beth will be there, so you can meet her and discuss the work with her in person. And Beth, is there anything you would like the viewers to keep in mind when viewing your work in person?
I think just, yeah, think about looking at the work and then reading the title and how it changes or influences you what you think about it.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you everyone for watching.